Welcome to the Hindu Daily.
Today we have a really powerful and I think essential stack of sources for our deep dives.
Absolutely. We're going to be taking you through some of the most pressing issues right now: governance, economics, even human rights.
We're looking at everything. The fight for digital autonomy, the devastating reality of a farm crisis, and even the dark underworld of organized crime.
We're starting today with the editorial section, focusing on what was a very swift and I'd say very significant win for privacy advocates.
Let's unpack this, because the government made a huge decision and they made it fast.
Within just 48 hours, they rolled back the order that would have mandated mobile manufacturers pre-install the Sanchar Sathi app.
Right, starting in 2026.
Yeah.
And this wasn't a voluntary change of heart. It was a direct response to just intense, widespread resistance from stakeholders.
Tech companies, including Apple, were reportedly refusing to implement it. They had serious concerns about data storage and, well, state surveillance.
And you can see why. The stated goal was admirable, of course: safety. Cybercrimes jumped from 15.9 lakh cases in 2023 to over 20 lakh in 2024.
So the problem is real.
The problem is very real. But the pushback against what many saw as, a tool for potential mass surveillance was just too significant to ignore.
What's fascinating here is that this specific incident perfectly illustrates the urgent need for what our sources are calling digital constitutionalism.
It's a great term. The idea is that you have to extend foundational constitutional principles, core concepts like liberty, dignity, equality, accountability into the digital domain.
They can't just stop at the edge of the internet.
Exactly, because in the 21st century, data, AI, and surveillance, these aren't just technical tools anymore. They are the primary threats to individual autonomy.
And these digital systems, they now mediate almost every essential interaction of modern life.
Think about it. We're talking about automated processes for your KYC verification, how welfare benefits are handed out, how job applications are screened.
All happening silently, often without us even knowing the criteria being used, and certainly without our explicit approval.
That's it. Power is concentrating so rapidly in the hands of tech designers, law enforcement, a few private companies, and it fundamentally turns citizens into passive data subjects instead of active right holders.
That shift is key, and the nature of surveillance has completely changed.
It's no longer the visible physical monitoring of the past. Today's surveillance is silent and constant. It's metadata gathering, location tracing, biometric identification, all happening in the background.
And this environment leads directly to a chilling effect, doesn't it? Self-censorship. People limit what they say because they assume they're always being watched.
We do have a crucial legal foundation here. The Puttaswamy judgment from 2017 did affirm privacy as a fundamental right.
But our sources are flagging the more recent Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023 as, well, not quite enough. What are the core weaknesses they point out?
Well, if you look closely at the DPDP Act, the real flaw is that it seems to prioritize administrative convenience over individual autonomy.
It gives broad exemptions to the government.
Very broad.
Yeah.
It lacks robust, independent oversight, and it provides insufficient remedies for citizens whose rights have been violated.
When we talk about real-world harm, we can look at these algorithmic black boxes. Take facial recognition technology, for example.
A perfect example. It's been prohibited or severely limited in some U.S. cities precisely because research shows these systems disproportionately misidentify people of color, women, and minority groups.
So when an algorithm excludes a family from welfare or denies someone a job, there's often no explanation, no access to the criteria, and no clear way to appeal.
Right. So the defense of these digital rights requires institutional architecture, not just good intentions. What does a robust solution look like?
It has to move beyond theory into mandatory mechanisms.
The article outlines the need for an independent digital rights commission dedicated to ensuring accountability. We need mandatory judicial warrants for surveillance. A judge has to sign off, not just an administrator.
And regular auditing of these high-risk AI systems.
Absolutely. Auditing for bias and discrimination. And crucially, citizens must be guaranteed the right to an explanation for any automated decision that affects them, and a formal right to appeal. That's what digital constitutionalism looks like in practice.
Okay, moving from digital rights to the heavy industrial reality of climate policy. Let's turn to India's coal conundrum.
This is a tricky one. We saw India drop 13 places to 23rd in the Climate Change Performance Index.
And that happened despite some good news, right? That India has actually doubled its clean energy capacity between 2021 and 2025.
It did, and that drop highlights the core contradiction at the heart of our energy policy. On one hand, renewables now account for 50% of installed power capacity.
But capacity isn't generation.
Not at all. On the other hand, coal still contributes a staggering 75% of actual electricity generation. This heavy reliance is the anchor dragging down our ranking.
It's the worst kind of conundrum, pinning immediate concerns like jobs and cheap electricity against, well, catastrophic long-term damage.
And the stakes, when you calculate the social and environmental costs, are just severe. The socio-ecological calculus shows that by the end of the century, climate change could sap between 3 and 10% of India's GDP.
And the immediate health impact is even more chilling.
It is. Studies show that a 1 gigawatt increase in coal-fired capacity corresponds to a 14% increase in infant mortality rates in districts near the plant. Phasing out coal is a public health strategy.
This leads us to a fascinating comparison the source provides, the transition model of Chile.
Right. Chile's share of coal in electricity generation dropped significantly, from nearly 44% to under 18% between 2016 and 2024.
And renewables now make up over 60% of their power mix. How did they pull that off?
It was engineered through very specific targeted policy levers. Chile introduced a $5 per ton carbon tax back in 2014.
They also imposed stringent emission standards,
which effectively increased compliance costs for coal plants by about 30%. And finally, they committed to a clear deadline, phasing out all coal by 2040. For India, with deep regional dependence in states like Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, we need a targeted roadmap.
Which would include what? Systematic removal of old plants?
Yes, getting rid of the oldest, most polluting ones. Market reforms like carbon pricing and removing coal subsidies. And most importantly, robust support for displaced workers. We can use the District Mineral Foundation corpus and a dedicated transition fund to make sure that exit is socially just.
We now shift to the ground zero section of the paper and a devastating agricultural crisis in Gujarat. This story starts with the tragic case of Madanapalle.
He was a 60-year-old farmer from Surendranagar who died by suicide recently. His son explained he was facing a double blow. Historically low cotton prices.
Down to around 1,200 to 1,300 rupees per man.
Right. Combined with devastating crop damage from non-seasonal October rains, which hit just before the harvest.
And he's not alone. Farm organizations report that 6 farmers, 4 of them cotton growers, have died by suicide since those rains.
This tragic human cost is driven by several economic pressure points, but the most immediate one seems to be the role of imports.
India is the world's second largest cotton producer, yet the textile industry heavily favors imports.
Because raw cotton from countries like the US and Brazil is cheaper. The Commerce Ministry reported India imported nearly double the amount of raw cotton in October compared to the previous year.
And the government's intervention, which was intended to help manufacturers, actually made things worse for the farmers.
It absolutely did. They waived customs duties on raw cotton until December 31st to stabilize input costs for manufacturers.
But farmers argue that this duty exemption immediately drove domestic prices down right at the moment they were trying to sell their damaged harvest. It just undercut them completely.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the core issue is financial stagnation. It's been going on for more than a decade.
Wait, so a farmer today is essentially getting paid 2012 prices for an input-intensive product?
That's exactly the real economic trap. Cotton prices were around 1,500 rupees per man in 2012, and they've barely budged. Meanwhile, input costs have skyrocketed. Hybrid seeds can cost anywhere between 850 and 4,500 rupees.
And the minimum support price? The MSP?
It's set at 7,710 per quintal, but farmers are lucky to get 4,500 to 6,000 on the open market. And government procurement under MSP is failing. Last year, only 34% of cotton was actually procured at that guaranteed price.
On top of all this, you have logistical failures and claims of corruption.
Big time. Farmers in major hubs like Surendranagar, they don't have proper APMC markets.
These are the regulated markets that are supposed to ensure fair prices.
Exactly. So without them, farmers have to travel long distances and navigate what leaders allege is just rampant corruption, with traders denying fair prices on flimsy grounds. This tension even led to the arrest of 84 farmers in Boted who were protesting.
This raises a really important question about global competitiveness. A ginning mill owner highlighted that Indian cotton is currently the most expensive globally.
But not because of high prices. It's due to severely low yield.
Gujarat farmers get only about 12 to 15 man per biha compared to what, 60 to 70 in Brazil?
Precisely. And that low yield is directly linked to outdated seed technology, which has been hampered by a price cap under the 2015 cotton seed price control order. This stagnation is devastating the whole supply chain. 70% of ginning families have reportedly closed down.
And farmers are starting to abandon modern methods.
They are, shifting back to traditional lower-cost kalakapas just to reduce their financial risk.
Let's shift dramatically now to the spotlight section, moving from agricultural crisis to the creative economy.
There is this strong, growing movement for Indian studios to stop being just a low-cost service workforce for global companies.
And start creating and owning their own global intellectual property, or IP. We see this with a studio like Wallet Interactive. They developed over 50 mobile games for others.
And now they're bootstrapping their first original PC and console game, Spookaboo.
But that ambition immediately runs into what the article calls the domestic market paradox.
It's a huge paradox. Mobile gaming is enormous here. BGMI has been downloaded over 240 million times, but the PC and console gaming market is, and I'm quoting, practically non-existent.
Fewer PlayStation 5 consoles than Gram Panchayats.
Yeah. So creators like Wallet Interactive, they have to go global by design right from the start to access those lucrative markets.
The government is trying to bridge this gap, right? Establishing the National Center of Excellence for AVGC-XR and a billion-dollar fund.
They are. The fund is aimed at creating IP based on India's cultural heritage. But the critical issue remains the lack of a supportive ecosystem to nurture this talent domestically.
You see this with Abir Kapoor of Civic Games Lab. He created the Pole board game.
And he has to rely on foreign nonprofit funds, like the Gates Foundation or Germany's Foreign Aid Agency, to finance his projects. He contrasts this with Germany, which has a comprehensive public and private funding structure that treats storytelling as a crucial national asset.
This highlights the challenge of what Kapoor calls static IP. He says India is sitting on a treasure trove of existing IP that's incredibly undertapped.
Like the fictional world of Malgudi, created by R.K. Narayan. It exists, it's beloved, but it hasn't been continuously monetized.
Contrast that with the deal between Ubisoft and the estate of Tom Clancy. That name keeps generating new global franchises. It's a multi-million-dollar deal.
It's sustained visual culture. Kapoor is actively appealing to the estates of figures like Chacha Chaudhary, urging them to let new creators work on that property.
That need for market reach is why groups like the Department of Lore, led by Anand Gandhi and Zain Memon, are relying on foreign crowdsourcing for their franchise, Maya.
They raised over $420,000 on Kickstarter, mostly from U.S. contributors. Memon's point is that the timing is perfect. The current generation has access to the best cultural capital from both the East and the West.
And their goal is to leverage that to create a cultural monument for the Global South.
And Gandhi summarized this ambition in a really powerful way. He said, for decades, we've been on the receiving end of the West's amazing monologue, citing figures like Einstein, Tolkien, and Spielberg.
And it's long overdue that we turn this into an inspiring and enlightening dialogue.
Where India and the Global South contribute equally, it's a powerful vision.
We wrap up our deep dive today with a deeply disturbing story from Andhra Pradesh that exposes how dire poverty is ruthlessly exploited by organized crime.
The focus is B. Yamuna, a 29-year-old woman desperate to solve her financial struggles, who agreed to a paid kidney donation for 8 lakh rupees.
She told her family she was on a trip, but they received a shocking call later. She had died at a hospital, 900 kilometers from home.
And this tragic death just blew the lid off a highly organized interstate organ trafficking syndicate. It was centered around the global multi-specialty hospital in Madanapalle.
The illegal operation was anchored by a senior government doctor, Dr. Anjani Yulu, who also owned the hospital.
Unbelievable. The syndicate also involved 2 government dialysis technicians and a sought-after surgeon from Bengaluru. They were all key to the operation.
And the exploitation mechanics they used were particularly cruel.
Brokers targeted Yamuna, exploiting her distress with promises of safety, the payment, even future employment. She was forced to use false documents to bypass the regulations in the Transplantation of Human Organs and Tissues Act.
The hospital then tried to cover up the death.
They did. But a post-mortem revealed the illegal kidney removal, which contradicted the hospital's official records.
And this isn't an isolated case of vulnerability.
Not at all. Social activists have confirmed this is a highly targeted operation, specifically preying on low-income communities and tribal hamlets in North Andhra. Investigators found another woman from Visakhapatnam went through the same procedure and has since disappeared.
This fits a historical pattern, too. There have been kidney racket cases in that area before, in 2019 and 2022.
And the economics of this illegal trade just underscore the scale of the exploitation. The sources state that recipients in cities like Mumbai and Kolkata pay between 70 lakh to 1 crore rupees per organ to the syndicate.
Yet the victims, the donors, receive what? Barely 5% of the total amount.
Sometimes less. It shows you how the whole game is engineered to favor the syndicate. The hospital has now been sealed, and 8 key suspects, including the doctor, are arrested.
But the police are still searching for the Bangalore surgeon and tracking clues across multiple states.
Right. And investigators believe this case, driven by poverty and orchestrated by organized crime, is truly just the tip of the iceberg.
If you reflect on the common thread running through these deep dives today, from the algorithmic age to the farm crisis and this organ racket, we see this pervasive tension. A tension between systems optimized for efficiency or profit and the resulting cost to individual dignity.
Whether that cost is algorithmic exclusion, environmental damage, financial desperation, or the ultimate violation of the body itself.
These sources force us to consider, are our systems prioritizing humanity or just convenience and profit? I think that's the question we have to keep exploring. Thank you for listening. If you want to provide suggestions, please contact on the Twitter handle given in the episode description. As always, we are eager to hear what our listeners want to be informed about. We wish you a great day.